Republican Congressman Paul Gosar is echoing former President Donald Trump, suggesting that outgoing Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley should be, quote, hung for his supposed disloyalty to Donald Trump. In a bizarre rant published on his government website today, the Arizona Republican accuses General Milley, without evidence, of conspiring with Democrats to delay law enforcement response on January 6th. The rhetoric is eerily similar to comments Trump just made on Truth Social, writing, in times gone by, Milley's punishment would have been death. And joining us now to talk about this is retired Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. General Hertling, great to talk to you as always. I know typically we talk about what's taking place in Ukraine and on the battlefield and so on, but I really wanted to talk to you about these escalating attacks, this dangerous rhetoric that's being directed at members of the military, and specifically about the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Your reaction?
Yeah, a different sort of battlefield, isn't it, Jim? You know, this proposed violence by any political figure is disgusting, shows how deeply disturbed both of these individuals are, and both of their rants, not just the tweet you showed from Representative Gosar, but his delivered statement to the press was sexist, racist, vile, and it just shows the extent to which these kinds of things have become commonplace and not condemned in our divided country. It's not the first time for either one of these individuals. Gosar in 2021 was censured from the House and removed from his committee because he threatened, or he posted a video of him killing Alexander Ocasio-Cortez and attacking President Biden. It continues, and it really needs to be stopped, Jim. This is just serious business, and I'm condemning it if no one else does.
Well, it's totally condemnable, and I mean, we're not even going to put on screen what he said because it's just so disgusting and vile. But, you know, I wonder how unusual this is to have these kinds of attacks being directed at the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Obviously, there may be times at one point or another where you may disagree with how the chairman conducted himself. Obviously, he took a lot of criticism for what took place at Lafayette Square Park outside the White House after George Floyd. But, you know, to take it to this level, it just seems dangerous, especially in this climate.
Well, and it also shows how neither one of these individuals, excuse me, actually understands the job that the chairman executes. He is the senior military advisor. He's not a commander of forces. He's the guy that provides advice to the Secretary of Defense and the president, and he also coordinates and oversees all the combatant commanders. So, you know, throwing the blame on him for all sorts of things that have occurred in government just seems to be malicious and certainly, as I said before, vile. And it shows just how deeply disturbed both of these individuals are and how they are disconnected from the role of government officials. And even if they did know what General Milley's jobs were and what his performance requirements were, still doing this in a public forum to threaten to either hang or to shoot them for being a traitor, it's just bizarre, Jim, and somewhat ridiculous and a little bit sick.
And help us out a little bit in terms of why General Milley was doing what he was doing around the time between the election and the inauguration of President Biden. One of the things that has rankled people inside Trump world was that General Milley was calling some of his foreign counterparts and trying to reassure them around the world that the United States government was okay and that we weren't going to launch any kind of bizarre out of nowhere military attacks. I mean, he was essentially trying to keep a lid on things. Isn't that right?
Yeah, he was. And in many of the articles that have appeared lately, that has been an extended conversation about all those actions have been written about. And truthfully, Jim, as a former senior general in the Army, you do things that are called engagements with your counterparts, with your peers in other countries. You try and actually contribute to the diplomacy of the United States by talking to your military colleagues and cohorts in other countries. That's what General Milley was doing. And when you talk about the kind of engagements he has to make around the world, by last count, I think the United States engages with about 192 different countries. So Milley is trying during his term of office to become familiar with those generals, to kind of assuage them when things are happening on the diplomatic or the political front, to tell them what's going on and to assure them as well as deter them from doing things that are counter to the United States. He also assures them so that they don't get on a trigger stance and start doing things that would lead to unfortunate conflict or even war. That's happened before when there's been a lack of misunderstanding between military forces.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you, Craig, next time. But in the meantime, General Hertling, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.